Syracuse's 21-9 blowout loss in the Dome to UNC had many calling for a funeral for the season, but it was the Orange who played spoiler of the party on Saturday with a resounding, season-saving win in Klockner against Virginia. Now, the revenge tour continues as Cuse heads to South Bend to take on 4th-ranked Notre Dame. And here on Cuse Countdown, we'll have complete analysis of every piece of this matchup, and it all starts right now.
Welcome into the CitrusTV studio for this edition of Cuse Countdown as we look ahead to 8th-ranked Syracuse versus 4th-ranked Notre Dame over the weekend. I'm your host, Cameron MacCauley, joined by Nick Zelaya and Sam Lebowitz. And gentlemen, how things can change in a week in the ACC.
Absolutely. And the last time we were standing here was March Madness. Now we're talking lacrosse season, so May Madness. I'm pumped for this show.
I cannot wait for this game. This is a huge matchup. Syracuse needs to finish their ACC schedule on a high note.
First lacrosse show I've done in a long time. You all know that that's my jam. Hey, listen, the Virginia Cavaliers came into Saturday's contest as a 3.5-point favorite, according to Lax Vegas lines on Twitter. But it was the Orange who jumped out to a 7-2 advantage in the second quarter on a 5-goal run and helped serve the rest of the way to secure a crucial road ACC win. Guys, what stood out to you from this win on Saturday?
Well, it was getting out to an early lead. I mean, they were up 7-2 early on, and they really used that momentum the rest of the game. Owen Hilt, he had a bounce-back game. That's huge for his confidence going forward in attorney play.
I mean, can we talk about Jacob Fopp for a minute? 90%, nearly 90%, it was like 88%, but he was incredible. 24 out of 27 on the faceoffs. He's been really, really good turning his season around. That was huge for this Orange team. It's the reason they won. They controlled the ball a lot more than UVA.
He turned his season around, and Syracuse turned its season around as that win has spirits rising on the hill. And let's go ahead and take a look at that victory by the numbers. The first number, 89. That's the percentage of faceoffs Jacob Fopp won on Saturday. Sorry, Sam. His 24 wins are the most by a Syracuse player in a game since 2003, 6th all-time on the program's leaderboard, and his season high, beating his performance against Virginia earlier in the year. In his 2 games against the Cavaliers, Fopp has gone 76% from the X, and in every other game, he's winning at just a 48% clip. Fopp rightfully deserves the credit he got as ACC Defensive Player of the Week this week, but part of that dominance at the X came from the wings. The Orange were also first to 50-50 balls all game, which brings us to the second number, 38. That's how many ground balls Cuse secured against UVA, 10 more than the Cavaliers, and the most by Syracuse in any ACC game this season. And when the Orange got the ball, a new-look offense debuted without SU's leading goal scorer and 22, Chase Scanlon. However, old and new faces stepped up to fill that gap, which brings us to the third number, 3. That's the goal scored by both Owen Hilt and Jamie Trimboli against UVA. Trimboli, inside Lacrosse first-team All-American in 2020, had yet to top 2 points in any game this season. He doubled that with 4. And Hiltz, the number 2 freshman in the 2020 class, had 5+ points in 4 of his first 5 games before being held to just 8 in his next 4. He had 5 on Saturday. Trimboli and Hiltz led the way with a pair of hat tricks, and Sam, without Scanlon, the Orange offense didn't really miss a beat.
Yeah, you're right. They didn't seem to miss a beat whatsoever. The first line was great in this game. You talk about Owen Siebold with 4 huge points off the bench. And I don't want to spoil anything. I got some thoughts on Siebold. I'll talk about him later.
Yeah, you talked about Owen Hiltz, Cam, and Jamie Trimboli. His first real good game of the season, a hat trick against Virginia. That's maybe the confidence he needs going into the rest of the season. He's an important part of this Syracuse offense, and they'll definitely need him against the Fighting Irish this weekend.
Well, anyone who has followed Syracuse throughout the years knows what 22 means to the program. It's much more than just a number and represents the pedigree of the legends that have come through over the years. That's why filling a 22's shoes is a lot easier said than done. But as Sam explains, the man tasked with doing just that over the weekend was crucial to SU's offensive explosion.
Thanks, Cam. A week ago, Syracuse was staring down the barrel at an absolute must-win game, facing the number 5 team in the nation, UVA, on the road, on the heels of 3 straight conference losses, and without one of their top scorers in Chase Scanlon, someone needed to step up. And you see, Scanlon's replacement on the first line was feeling bold. Siebold. Owen Siebold. You guys get the joke. It's Owen Siebold's 4th year in Orange, and this was his first career start. And for his first 3 years, he was an attackman. He shifted to the second line on midfield this year, and he's played well, really well. 8 goals as a midi, and he wasn't even starting. And by the way, that second line has arguably been better than the first, in no small part thanks to Siebold's play. And he's continued to practice at attack all year, so Siebold was the natural replacement for Scanlon when number 22 was out. And how'd he do? 2 goals and 2 assists. That's a career high in points for the junior and more points than Scanlon had against UVA back at the Dome in February. Now, Siebold says it wasn't hard in practice to get comfortable with Stephen Rafis and Owen Hiltz on the first line.
Kind of just pulled them to the side and we just kind of talked about, like, how can I best fit in with the guys? Because they had such a great thing going. I didn't want to disrupt their kind of chemistry. And, we just worked some things out. And as you can see today, I think it all went really well. We all played very well together.
Whether Chase Scanlon suits up in South Bend is anyone's best guess at this point. But after UVA last weekend, I don't think John Desko and the Orange are going to mind much if Owen Siebold has to trot out on the first line once again. Cam?
And Sam, Siebold will likely get his second start of the season on Saturday, as head coach John Desko announced midweek that Scanlon will not be traveling with the team to Notre Dame. He was suspended last week for what Desko called a violation of team rules, but was reinstated by Desko on Monday. WSYR's Stephen Fonte reported on Tuesday that players on the team were prepared to walk out of practice if Scanlon trained with the team. And SU Athletics has confirmed that Scanlon practiced independently with a member of the coaching staff on Wednesday. All right, we're just getting started here in the CitrusTV studio, and when we come back for Cuse Countdown, we'll look at the other half of Saturday's ACC matchup. We'll meet the Fighting Irish after the break, so don't change that channel.
Taking care of a family member can lead to plenty of questions. Fortunately, there's a place to get the answers, for them and for you. Find articles, tips, and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
What are you, superheroes?
Just 4 brothers who hate bullies and love this city. Gear up, guys.
Welcome back to Cuse Countdown ahead of Saturday's marquee matchup between Syracuse and Notre Dame. Cameron MacCauley alongside Nick Zelaya and Sam Lebowitz. And last time the Orange faced off with Notre Dame, it did not go as Syracuse would have hoped. A 4-1 start to the first quarter put the Orange in the driver's seat, but from that point, Notre Dame's offense caught fire. And with the Irish winning 23 of 32 faceoffs, played make-it-take-it ball all the way to an 18-11 Dome blowout. And ahead of the rematch in South Bend this weekend, John Desko said that faceoff performance simply can't be repeated.
And they won a very high percentage of the faceoff. They played offense for most of the game, and it was it's hard to crawl back in the game. We got off to a good start in the game, and they had an explosive second quarter, and they were kind of even with them the rest of the way. And the way the faceoffs went in the second quarter, they got hot and they had a lot of offensive opportunities. And that was a big part of the game.
Nick, what stood out to you from Desko's comments?
Well, Desko's right. They got hot and they just kept it going. They scored 18 goals in that one. If Syracuse wants to beat Notre Dame, they cannot let Notre Dame get as hot as they did the last one.
Yeah, absolutely. I almost think that Syracuse, and a lot of people talking about this game beforehand, were underrating the Irish going in. They were a lower seed than Syracuse heading in. Now, I don't think Syracuse is going to do that. I think Syracuse knows exactly what they need to do to play a tighter game.
Well, it's time to meet the Fighting Irish, and at the helm of the ship is a record-breaking coach in Kevin Corrigan. The Notre Dame head coach of 33 years became the winningest coach with a single school in Division I history this season, and it's not hyperbole to say that this version of the Irish might just be his very best.
Yeah, Coach Corrigan, one of the most successful college coaches in any sport. He's led Notre Dame to 5 Final Fours. He doesn't have a ring yet, but that could change soon. And this is crazy. 28 straight seasons with at least one All-American, 7 back in 2015. He has 3 losing seasons. I'm going to say 2 because I'm not going to count 2020 when they went 2-3. He is one of the greatest coaches in lacrosse history for sure.
Yeah, he did all the research. I'll keep it short. This is their John Desko, or should you say John Desko is SU's version of Corrigan. He's been here since 1988. He knows what he's doing.
Well, the name Corrigan is a fixture in South Bend, but so is the last name Kavanaugh. And as we meet the Irish, we start with the very latest one to don Irish blue, Pat Kavanaugh. Nick, he's been nothing short of spectacular this season.
Yeah, one of the best players in the entire country as a sophomore. He had 9 points against Syracuse when they last played, 4 goals and 5 assists. He leads Notre Dame in points this year with 49. You know who's second most? They have 22 points. He absolutely dominates and leads this Fighting Irish team.
Yeah, he's really, really, really good, like extremely very good, like top 20 player in the nation, top 5 attack in the nation good. If there's any hope for Syracuse to win this game, probably not going to be a good idea to give up 9 points to Pat Kavanaugh again.
Well, Kavanaugh is undoubtedly the focal point of the Irish offense, and as you're seeing on your screen, highlight reel goals are nothing new, but there's plenty of accent pieces around him, including Wheaton Jacobois. The 6'2 senior is tied for 3rd in the team with 20 points. Sam?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure our producers put him in meets just so we could say the name Wheaton Jacobois a lot. It's the best name in college lacrosse, and he's part of a history, a family, a long lineage at Notre Dame. His father played varsity swim at Notre Dame, grandfather played hockey at Notre Dame, great-grandfather played football at Notre Dame.
I'm going to say it again, Wheaton Jacobois. I just wanted to say that. He has 20 points on the season. That's 4th for the Fighting Irish. 8 assists, that's 3rd on the team. He's one of the most offensive threats. He is a big guy on offense, and Syracuse will need to stop him.
And on the other side of the ball, the very fearsome Irish defense is marshaled by Jack Keelty, who was picked 9th overall by the Cannons Lacrosse Club in the 2021 PLL draft on Monday.
Yeah, 13 ground balls on the season, 5 caused turnovers, one of the best defensemen, not in this Notre Dame team, but in the entire country. He can really do it all. He's a strong one-on-one man, and he's a big part of this defense. He was a captain in 2020 and a preseason All-ACC selection last year.
Yeah, I'm a New Jersey kid. Here's a New Jersey kid from Del Barton High School, home of the Fighting Jack Lighters for all my college baseball fans out there. New Jersey Defenseman of the Year in high school. Oh, by the way, he might just be the best, if not one of the best, on one-on-one man defensive players in college lacrosse.
Well, we all saw what this Notre Dame team could be in back-to-back wins over Syracuse and Duke, but don't say it now. The Irish have quietly put themselves in a Wednesday casserole of a situation by dropping 2 straight to Duke and UNC. Nick, is there problems brewing in South Bend?
No, not at all. When you lose by a total of 3 goals to the top 2 teams in the ACC, you shouldn't be too worried, especially when Syracuse lost huge in North Carolina. They squeezed out a victory over Duke. But if you're the Fighting Irish, I would not be too worried playing against the Orange.
No, absolutely. I agree with you, Nick. These were close losses. The defense kept them to 13 goals or fewer, which is the strength of this Notre Dame team. There's absolutely no reason to believe that they're going to come in weaker against Syracuse just because they've lost these 2 tough games. One was an overtime loss. So I'm not worried about Notre Dame coming into this one.
Well, there's no denying that Kevin Corrigan is a defense-first coach, and few asked questions coming into the season on that end. Instead, it was the other side where the doubters flocked. But as Nick explains, the Notre Dame offense stole the show when these teams last squared off.
Thanks, Cam. Now, the last time these two played, Notre Dame used 2 dominant runs, one in the second quarter and one in the third, a 7-0 run to defeat the Orange. And you can say it's just Syracuse maybe playing some bad defense, but in reality, it's just Notre Dame being really explosive on the offensive side of the ball. Let's take a look at a couple plays right here. Notre Dame, they're in a man-up advantage. This forces the Orange to play in a zone defense. The Fighting Irish are going to move the ball around the perimeter, make the Syracuse defense move, and that's where the mistake happens. Pat Kavanaugh is wide open right in front of the net, and Wheaton Jacoboyce has an easy lane to get him a pass. He's going to get it to Kavanaugh, which he does. Easy pass, easy goal, and then Syracuse leads by just 1 goal, and it just went downhill from there for the Orange. Taking a look at another play, Pat Kavanaugh just doing what he does best. He's going to cut right there, and this is good defense by the Syracuse Orange. They're all got their eyes on him. They're like, okay, he's their best player. Let's keep the eye on him. Notre Dame, look at that offense, how spread it out is. They're saying, you're our number 1 player, make a move yourself. He flips it over his shoulder, an easy goal, literally looking at the Orange defenders, an unbelievable goal. And yes, Kavanaugh can score, but he can also get his teammates involved, which he does in this play right here. Again, he's going to be the X-Man behind the net. And Mitch Wyckoff, I praised him on the last breakdown, but this time he just messes up. Quinn McCann cuts to the net. That distracts Wyckoff and leaves Will York wide open right in front of the goal. And Pat Kavanaugh, as great as a player he is going to find Will York right there for an easy goal, leading to that Notre Dame victory. And if Syracuse wants to win this one, they have to score a lot of goals, but Notre Dame, they can keep up on offense. So Syracuse needs to focus on the defensive side of the ball if they want to come out victorious this Saturday.
Thanks, Nick. It's halftime here on Cuse Countdown, so we'll take a quick break. But when we come back, Sam and Nick will face off at the blank. Let's finish the phrase coming up in 60. Welcome back to Cuse Countdown. I'm Cameron MacCauley, joined by Sam Lebowitz and Nick Zelaya. And as we look ahead to Syracuse's matchup against Notre Dame on Sunday, gentlemen, I hope you're getting your thesauruses ready. I might need one to say that, because we've got Finish the Phrase coming up. But first, let's take a look back at this week in history. And we go to 2013, where these two sides faced off in the, and this takes a while to say, Konica Minolta Big City Classic. Thanks to a 4-point effort from Kevin Rice, the Orange took victory over the number 2 Irish, and that season remains the very last time Cuse made the Final Four.
Not just the Final Four, but they made the championship that season. And in this game, a 9-3 run in the second half for the Orange. That won them the game pretty much.
You see that name, Matt Kavanaugh, on that full screen graphic? That's the brother of Pat Kavanaugh, who's going to be playing in this game for Notre Dame. And by the way, it's a good omen, I think, that Syracuse this week in 2013 beat Notre Dame, considering they're playing Notre Dame again.
Oh, by the way, there's another Kavanaugh coming in through the recruiting cycle. I think he'll be there in 2022. All right, now it's time for the main event of the evening, Finish the Phrase. If you can't figure it out, I will be giving them a phrase about Syracuse lacrosse. Sam and Nick will finish those phrases by filling in the blanks. Gentlemen, are you ready to go?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
All right, let's not waste any time, and let's begin with Syracuse's offensive focal point, Towards and watch list member, and recent Cannon selection, Stephen Rafus. The first phrase to finish is that he needs blank points for Syracuse to win. Nick, you may go first.
8 points. I'm reaching really high right here, but without Chase Scanlon, you need your veteran to step up. He's been the best passer on this Orange offense since 2018 when he entered the program, and when they last played Notre Dame, he was non-existent. 3 goals and 0 assists. That's unacceptable if you're the top passer on this team. They need a big game. I'm talking 4 or 5 assists, even attack the net, get a couple goals. Rafus needs to be huge in this one.
All right, 8 seems a little excessive. I'm going a little lower than that. I'm saying 5. I agree that the fact that he was shut down against Notre Dame is big. No assists. He's the quarterback of this offense. When his passing game is right, so is the Syracuse offense. I'm saying he needs 5 points. I don't care where they come from, as long as some of them are assists, because if he's getting those assists, that means the ball is moving around against this very good Notre Dame defense, and that means the Syracuse offense has figured them out.
8 points, big ask for Stephen Rapis, but you know what? That would tie his career high. Moving along, since going 1-8 against Notre Dame in the Dome, Jacob Fopp has gone just under 70% from the X this season. So your second phrase to finish is this: in order for Syracuse to win, Fopp must win blank percent of the faceoffs. Sam?
60%. He doesn't quite need to be about 90% where he was last time out against UVA, but this team was 28%, just shy of 30% against Notre Dame last time these two teams played. I'm saying if they could double that, that also more or less means they're going to double time of possession. And against this really good Notre Dame defense, you cannot afford to give them breaks. You cannot afford to take your foot off the gas. You need to keep the pressure on the Notre Dame defense. Otherwise, it's your defense that's going to be exhausted. So if Fopp can win about double the percent of faceoffs that they won against Notre Dame last time, Syracuse should be in okay shape.
I'm putting a lot of pressure on this entire team as a whole. 70% at the face-off line. Notre Dame and Virginia are both top 15 face-off teams in the country. And last week against Virginia, 89% for Jake Fopp. He might not repeat that performance, but they need to prevent Notre Dame's offensive opportunities. And if they can do that at the face-off with Jacob Fopp, they can have a good chance to win this one.
And looking slightly further ahead, the Virginia win has likely prevented Syracuse from finishing under 500 and thusly kept them eligible for the NCAA tournament. So the final phrase to finish is this: Nick, Syracuse will be a blank seed in the NCAA tournament.
They're going to be a 10/no seed almost. So they make the top 10, but right at the bottom of that. That Virginia win was huge for their tournament chances. And I don't think they won't win the ACC. They're not going to probably finish near the top of the ACC. But I still think they have enough talent to make this tournament and make some noise once they do.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Nick. I think that they're going to be in the bottom half. I think they're going to be unseeded. That's why I've got them about a 14 seed. Fact of the matter is, this team is making the tournament. There's no team in the nation that has that's on the cusp that has two better wins than the two UVA wins that Syracuse has. I don't necessarily think they've been a super convincing, very good lacrosse team this year, but they're absolutely in the top 16 this year. I just don't think they have what it takes to be in the top half of that 16. In other words, I don't think they're going to be in the top 8. But Syracuse is going to be there after the season.
In general, it's tough to see Syracuse not in the lacrosse tournament.
Yeah, they'll get the benefit of the
We'll
doubt.
expect to see them.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's nearly closing time on Cuse Countdown, which means that when we come back, it's time for the big reveal, as Sam, Nick, and I will tell you who will take home the victory on Saturday. It's CC after the break.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
I see you mobbing over her. Let's go. Let's mob. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, we mobbing. Come on, girl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl.
Closing time here on Cuse Countdown as we look ahead to Saturday's contest between number 8 Syracuse and number 8 Notre Dame, one of many enthralling ACC matchups this season. And the only thing more certain in this conference than the quality of play, the ACC has had the majority of the top 5 and top 10 the entire season, is the parity between the teams. SU has wins over Virginia, who split a series with UNC, who just beat Notre Dame, who beat Duke earlier in the year, who beat UNC. Point being, Every single game in this conference might as well be for the heavyweight title. And they can't figure out who will be that champion of the ACC as much as we can watching.
Yeah, this is a really, really good ACC. Lots of heavyweights. I know for me personally, UNC terrifies me. You guys saw what they did at the Dome a couple weeks ago. 21-9. This is really good conference, all up and down. Syracuse in a normal year, they really don't have to compete this hard in the ACC, but a lot of blue bloods this year.
Absolutely. North Carolina, both the men's and the women's, they're unbelievable. And yes, Syracuse beat Duke early on, but you should not take Duke lightly. They are a powerhouse. And then Notre Dame this weekend, Virginia. We talk about all these ACC teams. The lacrosse, ACC and lacrosse is one of the best conferences in all of sports. Calvin talked about earlier in No Pulp. The ACC is so dominant in lacrosse, and it shows why Syracuse is struggling with such a great team.
Listen, guys, you might as well throw some darts blindfolded to predict the finishing order in this conference with how much the parity has been and how well these teams match up against each other. But if you had to guess, where do Syracuse and Notre Dame end the year in the ACC standings?
All right, so let's say Syracuse pulls out the upset. I think Syracuse definitely moves up. Notre Dame bounces down a little bit. That helps teams like Lehigh and Georgetown. But if Notre Dame wins, they probably stay right where they're at, in my opinion, but Syracuse definitely drops.
Yeah, I think that they're generally going to be right where they are right now, with Syracuse 4th and Notre Dame 3rd in the ACC standings. I think, depending on how this one goes, if Notre Dame wins their 3-3 in conference, they're probably going to stay right around where they are. They might flip with UNC, depending on how UNC does this week, but overall, I think Notre Dame is going to stay put right in that 3rd spot in the ACC standings, and Syracuse probably right beneath them.
All right, gentlemen, we have hit that point in the show. There is only one thing left for us to do, and that is pick the winner of Saturday's matchup. We'll start with you, Nick. Who you got?
Notre Dame's going to come out with the win, 17-12. I think Pat Cavanaugh has one of his best games of the entire season. This Notre Dame offense is too lethal for Syracuse. They're really struggling on the defensive side. They're having some off-field issues. I think Notre Dame comes out on top.
Yeah, Nick, I agree with you. I have a 16-13 Notre Dame final. I think Syracuse comes out and plays a tighter game than last time at the Dome against Notre Dame. I think, however, it's going to be the defense for Notre Dame and their face-off ability that are going to be too hard for Syracuse to overcome. If not when Syracuse wins this game. If Syracuse wins this game, it's going to be because they turn things around in the face-off. Jacob Fopp, if he continues to be as successful as he was last time out against UVA, there's a chance Syracuse could push this one down to the wire, but overall I have Notre Dame winning this one. And Cam, before I throw it back to you, I have to give you some credit. This is your last Cuse countdown. You're a senior. I got to say, it's been an absolute pleasure and an honor. You're one of my first friends at CitrusTV, and it's been a dream come true being able to be on a show with you, and I just want to say thank you.
Sam, you're too flattering. I've got Syracuse winning this one 13-12. Call it a little bit of magic in the air, a late season run. Roy Simmons, the old coach of this team, always used to say that what happened in May was more important than what happened in March. But yes, as Sam said, it's that time of the show and it's that time of the year. This is my final appearance on Cuse Countdown, and it's slightly hard to believe because 2.5 years ago, I, as a wide-eyed sophomore, appeared at this desk for the first time on this very show. And I have been involved in some way as an on-air talent at this show for Cuse Countdown more semesters than I have not been involved as an on-air talent on this show at CitrusTV. And there's plenty of people that have helped me throughout my career here, especially with this show. I'd like to thank the 3 EPs that I worked under, Zach Lang, who gave me that first chance, Carl Mogline, and our current EP, Ryan Nelson. I also like to thank all the phenomenal APs I worked with throughout the years, and of course all of the talent, my hosts, and the analysts that I've worked with. Nick and Sam, you guys are true professionals, and I cannot wait to see where you go as you take my spot and the other spots of these upperclassmen.
Hey Cam, real quick, I say one thing. You probably have the best suit game in all of Citrus. The red
that's
shirt
one of the
right now
best.
with the blue suit doesn't get better than that.
That's one of the best comments I ever see. We'll see you next time on Cuse Countdown.